Welcome to Horror Boys. It's a podcast on the internet. I'm Austin, joined as always by
Chris.
And we are the Horror Boys. And this isn't any old podcast on this old internet. No, my friends. This is a horror movie review podcast where every week we review a horror movie.
And definitely nothing else ever, so stop asking about it.
Stop bringing up those 8 weeks where we did something different. We don't talk about that.
Stop. Just let it go.
Today, we're continuing our coverage on Final Destination 2. Well, we're continuing our coverage of the Final Destination films with Final Destination 2. We are not continuing our coverage of Final Destination 2. This is not the second episode in
part 2.
Yeah, this is the only episode about Final Destination 2.
Trust me, we will knock it out in one episode, one way or another.
Yeah, we will talk about this only once, unless someday once we're a much bigger podcast and we have a third member who loves these movies, maybe we'd redo them then. But that would be the only way possible that we'd ever talk about this movie again.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's talk about it. Our director is the late David R. Ellis of Snakes on a Plane, is the biggest movie he directed that I'd heard of. But he was also a second unit director on a lot of movies, especially their action scenes, including Waterworld, Matrix Reloaded, and the Quidditch scene in the first Harry Potter. He also was a stunt coordinator in over 80 projects, including Misery and Invasion of the Body Snatchers. So as a director, he doesn't have a lot, but, as someone who's been involved in movies,
directing
he's done
things.
Yeah. Our writers are J. Mackie Gruber and Eric Benson, both of The Butterfly Effect. Our composer is the returning late Shirley Walker. Our director of photography is Gary Capo, who was a second unit director of photography on Face Off, Deep Blue Sea, Mission Impossible 2, X-Men 2, The Incredible Hulk, and Iron Man 3. So, a lot of work as a second unit director of photography.
It does seem that way.
Yeah. Our production designer is Michael S. Bolton of 4 of the Buddies films, The Fly 2, and one of my favorite Muppet movies, A Very Merry Muppet Christmas. So, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our special makeup effects designer is the late Bill Zakis of the WCT production team. WCT's productions team, not the. That was confusing the way I worded that. He's also a Horror Boy alum for his work on Jason Takes Manhattan, Freddy vs. Jason, and most recently, he was one of the puppeteers on Curse of Chucky.
Oh.
Yeah. Our special effects coordinator is Alex Burdett of Event Horizon, Snakes on a Plane, Deadpool, The Predator, and Sonic the Hedgehog.
I do love Event Horizon. And Sonic the Hedgehog.
I gotta pull up. I'll tell you about our digital visual effects next as I pull up my phone because I forgot to write down the stunt coordinator and I want to at least give him his name. You're not gonna get to know anything else. You're not gonna get to know anything else he did because I don't have time to do research on him. But I just completely forgot to write his name down. Apparently, oops. Our stunt coordinator is. Well, our stunt coordinator for the U.S. is Freddie Heiss. We have a stunt coordinator in a different, and we also have Scott Nicholson for the stunts in Canada. So, yeah, go look up those guys if you want to know more about them.
Canadian stunts like feeding geese.
Well, no, I do believe most of this movie is filmed in Canada. Our digital visual effects are done by Digital Dimension and the returning Pixel Magic. Yeah, so let's get to the movie itself now. We open with a news report that tells us it's been 1 year since the plane crash in the last movie. Excuse me.
Yeah.
While the report continues to talk about the bizarre accidents of the last movie, we get our title card and our credits. Towards the end of our credits, we see the main character, Kimberly, waking up to wind blowing on her and a voice saying her name. Kimberly is played by A.J. Cook of Criminal Minds, Mother's Day 2010, and Wishmaster 3. She listens to the guest on the news who talks about how no one can escape death, and today may be your day to die. Some, foreboding words to say there.
Yeah, just a tad.
Yeah, just a little bit. In the morning, her father sends her and her friend Shayna off to Daytona after Shayna says some things inappropriate to say in front of a friend's father.
Yeah, one might say incredibly inappropriate.
Yeah.
One might.
Kimberly's father is played by Andrew Airley, who's been in over 150 roles. A lot of them television work. None of them specifically ones I wanted to bring up, but he's an actor who's done a lot of work.
Nice.
Shayna is played by... Crap. Sorry. Apparently I didn't write down who she was played by. I could tell you what she did, what movies she was in, but somehow it didn't. We're off to a great start, guys. This is
Girl from Thing.
Yeah.
And
Shayna was an actress who was in Smallville, DOA, Dead or Alive, and Wishmaster 3, and her name is Sarah Carter.
Sarah Carter.
Yeah. As they drive off, Kimberly's father dramatically notices a slight transmission fluid leak. We head to the girls, Frankie and Dano, in the car about to get on the highway. Frankie is played by Horror Bois alum Sean Sipos of Texas Chainsaw 3D. Yeah. Dano is played by Alejandro Rey of Blade Trinity. That's it. I mean, he did a lot more, but those are the things I brought up. A homeless lady shakes her bag of cans at the kids, and it rips. And then everyone but Kimberly laughs at her, because, ha ha ha, she's homeless.
Yeah, homelessness is hilarious.
Yeah, her friends are kind of jerks. It'd be a shame if something bad
happened to them. If they, all died or something.
Yeah.
That'd be crazy.
They pass a school bus where the students are chanting, "Pile up."
Yeah. As football do.
Yeah. Fun little fact about them is if you look really closely, you can see that they are from the same school that the class was from the last movie. The Mount... I forgot. They'll bring it up later. Mount something.
Yeah.
Nah. Kimberly then notices the chant and seems confused. Why would they be chanting "pile up"? She then turns on the radio. First, it's an announcement about a candlelight vigil for the victims of the last movie. Then she changes it to "Highway to Hell," before changing it again to a song I didn't recognize, but wasn't, the song from the last movie, which I would have kind of expected, not remembering what song played here. I was like, oh, after she goes from "Highway to Hell," she's going to totally listen to John Denver.
Yeah.
But she didn't.
No, she did not.
It does play like two other times that I don't know if I did not write down when it happens, but it plays like his background music in some scenes, like at the dentist office and in the elevator. So.
The John Denver song?
Yeah, the Rocky Mountain High.
But
you don't hear the words, so it's just like the beat, and it's done slightly different because it's elevator music, and the one in the dentist office also sounds different. But I wanted it to be here, and it wasn't. It was just some like new metal song I didn't recognize. Which means it's not a very popular new metal song if I don't know it, because I'm kind of a connoisseur of new metal.
Yeah, which means that he knows a new metal song.
How dare you? I grew up on new metal thanks to pro wrestling video games.
Yeah.
I know a lot of songs.
I know at least 10, which is more than most people.
Exactly, and this isn't one of them, so why did they play it?
So it's one of the 10 a lot of new metal songs. How could you?
It's true. Evan Lewis drives up next to Kimberly's car and revs his engine, making everyone in the car laugh at him. This one a little more justified than, the poor homeless lady who was just homeless.
Yeah.
This guy is kind of being a jerk, fair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Evan Lewis is played by David Paetkau? Paetkau? It's Paetkau.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And he was in I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer, Disturbing Behavior, and Goon alongside Horror Boy alum and Final Destination alum Sean William Scott. Kimberly's dad calls her to tell her that her car is leaking transmission fluid. That's the call. That's the whole point of it. At this point, a biker rides up, and his girlfriend on the back of his bike flashes Dano for some gratuitous nudity.
Yeah, just a real quick. It didn't happen in the last movie, but now it. And
well,
now
to be fair, they do show the penthouse in the last movie. So, there is also one shot of boobs in that movie, too.
Yeah,
and both of them are kind of just equally quick and completely pointless to the story, really.
That's true. I forgot about the penthouse.
Yeah, it happened. Dano realizes a cop is behind them, so he throws his joint out of the car, and it lands on the leaves on the hood of Kat's car. Who's Kat? Well, she's played by Keegan Connor Tracy of Z and Bates Motel. Kimberly's check engine light comes on, and Kimberly says they should probably pull over, but Shayna tells her it's going to be fine. Which, if we're in a Final Destination movie and someone says you're going to be fine, you're not.
Yeah, you're not going to be fine.
Yeah. We then see a quick shot of Isabella, who is pregnant. Isabella is played by Justina Machado of Season 2, Episode 3 of Angel, titled Judgment, where, weirdly enough, she plays the character Joe, who Angel has to protect because she's pregnant and he killed her protector by accident.
Huh.
Yeah, it's that was in 2001. This is 2003. So it's not like it was the same pregnancy where she's actually pregnant or something and got some pregnant roles. No, she's he's just the pregnant chick, apparently. Because
I got typecast as the pregnant chick.
I don't know. It's just weird. I mean, here's the thing. I would have brought it up no matter what her character was in Buffy or Angel, because that's the bit. But this one specifically, she happened to also be a pregnant lady, which is really weird.
That is wild.
Yeah. We then see a foreboding shot of a truck hauling logs. Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah. I wonder if anything's going to happen with those logs. Probably not.
Probably not. We see Eugene on his motorcycle driving recklessly. Eugene is played by Terrence T.C. Carson of Living Single, Clifford the Big Red Dog. He was also Kratos in the God of War games up until the most recent 2. And he plays Mace Windu in all of the video games and animated Star Wars content. So, yeah.
Sick.
Yeah.
A pretty prolific voice actor.
Yeah.
Those roles.
Speaking of recklessness, a beer truck passes Kimberly with a driver who is drinking a beer.
Yeah.
She then passes a kid who is kind of just creepily staring at her as he makes his toy 18-wheeler and red toy pickup truck crash into each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens.
Pile up, guys. Crash.
But also it's they're not even really driving a pickup truck. It's more of an SUV. So it's a little weird that they couldn't buy a red SUV toy or have them be driving a pickup truck in the scene.
They could have.
Either one of those options
things would have been easy for them to do.
We then see Rory driving his car. Rory is played by Jonathan Cherry of Wolf Cop, House of the Dead, and he was also in Goon. We then see mother and son, Nora and Tim Carpenter, drive past Kimberly. Nora is played by Linda Boyd of Disturbing Behavior and Bones. Not the television show, the horror movie with Snoop Dogg in the lead role. Yeah, it's a movie. It exists.
Interesting.
Yeah. Tim is played by James Kirk. The Captain James T. Kirk. No, his name is James Kirk. Of X-Men 2, and is a Horror Boy alum for his uncredited role in The Last Final Destination. We then see Officer Thomas Burke, who is driving his cop car. Burke is played by Michael Landis, or Lands. It's Landes. Typically, when I've seen the name Landis, it's Landis. So I don't know if it's Landis, Landis spelled a different way. It's Michael.
Yeah.
We then see Roy do a line of coke right before Officer Burke passes him. Then it happens. The chain breaks on the truck, sending the logs flying back. One goes through Burke's windshield and his head, killing him. Then all the cars start crashing and flipping, and there's some of them explode, and it's really epic and really cool, and there's absolutely no way I could do it any kind of justice by trying to explain to you each crash after it happens. So just, no, it's cool. It's really cool. Most of it's practical, some of it isn't, and that's one thing I will say about this movie that I'll bring up here, because I don't need to bring up for every kill, but a lot of the kills are like done mostly practical, but with some CGI to help like make it better in like a way that like really works. Like the logs are all CGI, but you can't tell. But then like all the explosions are real, but also not all of them, because some of them they'll like add a little extra fire or something. But like it works. I'm a big proponent of like, you know, only practical, but this movie kind of does a really good job mixing the two where you can't tell.
Yeah, even for its time, it's
and that's for 2003, which is crazy that it's not obvious what the CGI is. There's like one kill where I go, ooh, that's definitely some awkward CGI.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll get to that when we get to that.
Yes, we shall.
Pretty much everyone is dead except for Kimberly and her carload, who are just severely injured. But then an 18-wheeler comes right at them, killing them as well, we assume, because we don't know, because we go back to Kimberly earlier, because it was all a premonition. Duh. It's Final Destination. What did you expect? It's Final Destination 2. What do you mean? I mean, it was your first ever Final Destination film, fair, but this is number 2, so this is obviously not real. The homeless lady puts her hand on the car like earlier. Then the bus passed by with the kids chanting "pile up." She starts freaking out and telling her friends and that there's going to be an accident and how she just saw it. She then turns on the radio and hears about the candlelight vigil. She then drives a little bit further onto the highway, but turns so the people behind her can't get on. Officer Burke comes over to ask her what's going on, and she tells him about how there's going to be a huge pileup. He has her step out of the vehicle. Isabella and Evan both get out of their vehicles. They come over to try to get Officer Burke to move Kimberly out of their way because, you know, they're important people and they have important things to do. Kimberly then sees the truck with the logs pass by and says, "That's it. That's the truck. That's going to kill everybody. You need to stop that truck." And Burke says, "I told you, you have to calm down." And she says, "Why won't you listen to me?" And then the crash happens.
Yeah.
What?
Logs and explosions everywhere.
Yeah. Not as cool as earlier, but, you know, still pretty cool. Yeah. Officer Burke runs over and pulls Kimberly out of the way right before the pickup truck, or I guess a truck, I don't know, plows through her friends in the SUV. I don't remember what it was. I think it might have been 18-wheeler. I don't know why I wrote pickup truck, though. I think it was another 18-wheeler. I think it's a different 18-wheeler. But yeah, it plows through, killing her friends. But not her, because Officer Burke saves her. Lost my place. Oh, yeah. Burke holds on to her as she cries, and the camera spins around them kind of obnoxiously for a while.
Does happen.
And it shot really annoyed me, so I wrote it down in the notes.
How dare that shot spin so much?
It was too much. It like genuinely was like a little disorienting, and it was obnoxious. Like it wasn't necessary at all. It didn't add anything to the scene.
No, that's fair.
We head to the police station where Officer Burke tells Detective Subi that the survivors are all scared. Detective Subi is played by Eric Keenlyside, who has 191 roles on IMDb, including Smallville, The Search for Santa Paws,
Of course.
Godzilla 2014, and one of my favorite movies of all time, Edge of 17. It's a really good like coming of age comedy.
Oh.
It's a really good movie. It's
Got
one of my
Zac
top
Efron in it.
5 comedy movies. If you want to know my top 5 and Chris's top 5 comedy movies, we have a really old video on a different YouTube channel. Go find it, I guess, if you want.
Or don't.
Yeah, or don't. I mean, actually,
to
to be fair, I actually say that I think Kentucky Route 5 was actually a good show. I mean, no one watched it,
Yeah, it's fine.
but I thought it was produced well enough that I think it holds up. And that if someone wants more of us, go watch that. You might enjoy it. There's not a lot of it. There's only like 6 episodes to catch up on.
Yeah.
If that, it might only be 5.
You could binge that in one night.
Yeah.
Catch up on the downtown Kentucky lore.
Yeah.
But this isn't that. This is Horror
This
Bois.
is Horror Boys, but there's a link in this description to that channel, I'm pretty sure. If
Yeah,
you're on
probably.
YouTube. Detective Subi, I already said that. Oh no, I was at the wrong part where it said Detective Subi. Detective Subi says, scared? These people are the luckiest sons of bad women on the planet. Get this guy, Evan Lewis. Yesterday, this kid wins the lotto. Today, some loony bad woman blocks traffic and he avoids the worst pileup in years. I should be so unlucky. Go babysit the rest of them. I'll be done with Lewis in a minute. So Officer Burke goes to babysit them.
Yeah.
He enters the holding room and everyone tries to tell him they need to leave. He replies, "We're doing the best we can. We'll get you out of here as soon as possible." Officer Burke goes over to Kimberly and continues, "Listen, I know you've gone over all this with Detective Subi, but would you mind telling me what happened?" Excuse me. And then
Yeah,
she burps
true.
really loudly in his face and goes,
Yeah, I do recall that.
yeah.
Actually.
Kimberly responds, "It was like I was there. I knew something bad was going to happen, even before it did. It just felt wrong, just like..." Officer Burke says, "Just like what?" Kimberly continues, "Look, I know this sounds crazy, but you guys all heard about Flight 180, right? The kid who got off the plane? Well, it happened a year ago today. My premonition was just like his." Officer Burke has a very dramatic facial reaction to that.
He does.
Nora Carpenter asks, "What are you talking about?" And Eugene says, "Come on, you must have read about the kid who had a dream about a plane blowing up. So he got all his buddies off the plane, and then the thing blew up like in his dream." Nora says, "Yeah." Eugene continues, "But you hear about what happened after? So a month goes by, right? Everything seems cool. Then all the survivors start to die one by one. Because when your number's up, right? You know? Some people even say that death itself was stalking them, hunting each one down until they were all dead." He then laughs. Yeah, he then laughs maniacally because he doesn't actually believe this.
Right.
Officer Burke says, "There was one survivor. Clear Rivers is in a padded room at the Stony Brook Institution." Rory says, "Well, that's encouraging, because Rory's the comic relief that sometimes lands. This isn't one of them. But this line was supposed to, I think, be kind of funny." Detective
Maybe.
Subi listens in as Kat says, "Okay, do you want me to believe that this is true? That this is happening all over again? Ugh." Evan walks in and tells Detective Subi, "I don't know why we're even here. What do you want from me?" Detective Subi puts his hand up to tell Evan to stop talking. Kimberly says, "But if I was never meant to pull over, we all should have died in that pileup." Tim Carpenter says, "Which means death could be coming for us." Rory says, "Yeah, like what if we're all getting that different strokes curse or something?" So then I had to look up what the different strokes curse is, and apparently 2 of the child actors on it passed away.
Oh.
Nora says, I think you're all certifiable. I can't believe I've been listening to this crap. Let's go. Let's go, Tim. And for once, actually, that wasn't me like censoring it. She actually says crap. Officer Burke says, Miss Carpenter, please. But the Carpenters leave anyway. Kimberly's dad shows up and hugs her. Detective Subi tells them they can all go now. The scene's over. Once home, Kimberly asks her dad, can I ask you something? Her dad replies, anything. She continues, did Mom ever have any, I don't know, weird feelings about anything? Her dad asks, what do you mean? She continues, like visions or premonitions. Her dad asks, sweetie, are you sure you're okay? She replies, Dad, I know this sounds crazy, but I'm really scared for the others. I don't know, I have this really bad feeling. Her dad asks, what? She says, it's not over yet. Bum, bum, bum.
Ah!
Yeah. We head to Evan arriving at his apartment with a bunch of new stuff, including an iMac. That's like directed right at the camera, so like you can tell that it's product placement.
Yeah. Well, there is a decent amount of product placement in this scene.
Yeah. He trips over some toys in the hallway, but doesn't fall or doesn't like get, he's not dying or anything yet. Don't worry, guys. He's not gonna die. He takes off his jacket and opens the window and just throws his old spaghetti out of the window to the ground below.
Yeah.
I mean, he needed the pan to cook, so I guess that makes sense. So he puts the pan on the burner and takes off his shirt because, he gotta cook shirtless.
Yeah, of course.
Not that it actually ever becomes important. Like, you kind of expect, like, spoiler, you kind of expect when he goes shirtless, like, oh, he's gonna, like, die in some way that involves him being shirtless. Not really.
Nope.
So he puts the pan on the burner, takes off his shirt. He goes to put oil in the pan, but spills a little bit on the top of the stove. Then wind, possibly death's wind, blows past him, rustling his hair and opening a cabinet. And then a magnet from his fridge falls into his leftover Chinese food. I will say that there was a word on those letters were making, kind of. There was an H-E-Y and then an E, and then the H fell off. The word I was all that was left. I wonder if that could mean anything.
No, probably not.
I wonder if that's a sign of some sort.
No, probably not.
Yeah, probably
I
not.
don't think they're looking into things too much.
He then puts some mozzarella sticks in the pan with the oil.
Something.
Yeah.
Fish sticks, maybe?
No, it's mozzarella sticks. I paused it and looked really closely to make sure. Yeah, it's weird.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never heard of. I mean, like, I guess it makes sense. You're like pan frying them, like, but it's just I've never heard of someone pan frying mozzarella sticks. I feel like you either deep fry or you oven bake. But
That's what makes do.
Yeah, instead he's putting oil on a pan and just cooking it. He listens to his messages on his answering machine. It's a bunch of girls trying to hook up with him now that he's won the lottery. Because, he won the lottery. We haven't brought that up yet, but it happened. He starts putting on some expensive jewelry when sparks start to happen in his microwave. Because, there's a magnet in it.
Yeah. Little to his.
Yeah. Startling him and causing his ring to fall down the drain. He puts his hand in to get it, but his hand gets stuck because of his expensive watch on his wrist.
Not the Rolex. Which we don't know if it's a Rolex or
not.
It is just an expensive watch.
See, this is that kind of like expensive watch and ring that feel like the thing that someone who just got a lot of money gets, not like someone who's actually rich gets, because it just looks so gaudy and like that it actually is probably cheaper than some of the really expensive watches real rich people have.
Oh yeah, almost. Almost certainly.
So yeah, his arm's stuck. His mozzarella sticks start to burn. More sparks from the microwave. He continues to struggle. Now the mozzarella sticks are now on fire. He tries to get his hand, tries to hit the fire with a towel to put it out, but instead he just knocks, the oil fire onto the floor.
Yippee!
Nice little grease fire, not going to go out at all. It's just going to keep
It's up
going.
on straight.
Yeah. Now the apartment is starting to go up in flames. He gets a new message that ironically calls him lucky. He then gets his hand out and takes his tiny fire extinguisher out and thinks that that's going to be enough to help. It does not.
Yeah.
So he runs to his window, but it slams closed because, death wants him to die. He can't open it. So he picks up a chair and throws it through it, smashing it. He starts his way down the fire escape as his apartment explodes, and yeah, he's fine.
Yeah.
So he gets to the
Crazily
final.
enough.
He gets to the final ladder of the fire escape, but it won't go down like it's supposed to. So he kind of starts jumping on it, trying to get it to go down. Eventually, it does, and he falls to the ground, but on his feet safely.
Hmm? You guys thought?
Yeah, you thought he was gonna die? No, I said he's not dying. He says, "Poop, I'm lucky." Then he slips on the spaghetti and falls onto the broken glass. I guess that's why he's shirtless, so the glass hurts him a little more. I guess. Yeah. Then the letter falls again, but it stops right before it hits his face. See, he's not gonna die, guys. Oh, wait, sorry. Before falling through his face, killing him.
Ooh.
Oh.
Oops.
In a kill that is one of the ones that looks really digital, and it's kind of sad because I saw on the things, I saw the actual physical, they used a practical effect that they tried to cut with the human, and the practical effect looks good, but then they added extra blood splatter that makes it look super fake. So yeah,
Tragic.
it's a shame. It was actually a really cool kill before that, and then they kind of ruined it with a little too much 2003 CGI. When you use just a little bit, they make it look really good for a lot of these kills. This is not one of them.
Just a snitch.
Yeah. We cut to Officer Burke doing research on the Flight 180 survivors. In the articles, we get confirmation that Carter was killed by the sign in the last movie.
Man.
We also find out that Alex died from a falling brick after not leaving his house for 3 months. So yeah,
Yeah.
we're just gonna kill the main character from the last movie off screen by a falling brick.
Yeah.
Probably because
Possibly
Devin
the
Sawa
lamest
wouldn't come
thing.
back or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
He then searches premonition, and we're done. We leave that scene. We don't know what he finds when he looks up premonition, though.
Yeah.
We never do. It doesn't come back. I know it sounds like it's going to come back. It doesn't.
No. Gotta clarify.
Yeah. We get a little montage of everyone watching the news coverage of the accident. They all get freaked out when the next story on the news is about how Evan has died. We head to the Carpenter house, where Nora gives Tim a sleeping pill and tells him he has a dentist appointment tomorrow. Tim asks, "Mom, do you think those guys were BSing us today?" And Nora says, "Yeah, some people just need some rewiring, that's all. Lights out." And she turns off the light and leaves. We go to Kimberly's room, which has a bunch of creepy decorations, because apparently premonitions must be connected to that, because Alex also did. I don't know. Just my own observation. I think it must be what causes the premonitions, is the creepy bedrooms.
Mm.
She can't sleep, and the shadows of the tree casts the shadows of the tree casts looks like hands trying to grab her. Oh, scary!
Oh God!
And she looks at it very dramatic. She actually really doesn't, but there's a little bit less of that in this movie. A little less overly dramatic staring.
Yeah, thankfully.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I kind of loved how stupid it was.
That's that was a solid layer of corn.
Yeah. Kimberly goes on her computer to do some research on Clear, including getting directions to Stony Brook. The next day, she drives there. The doctor tells her, "At the request of the patient, you'll relinquish any sharp objects, such as nail files, pencils, pens, safety pins, bobby pins, your necklace, matches, lighters, belts, belt buckles, earrings, hair clips, glasses, shoelaces, paper clips, watches, money clip, pocket knives, food, drinks, keys, cell phone." You have a cell phone on you. Kimberly gives her phone. The doctor continues the list. Poison, pills, medications. Great. And let me see your nails. Good. Then I think we're all done. Kimberly asks, wait, is she dangerous or something? And the doctor replies, no, honey. She expects you are. At this point, I would normally tell you who played the doctor, but I honestly have no idea. There's a lot of different doctors in the movie, and most of them don't have pictures on IMDb.
Mystery people.
Kimberly asks, how long are you going to keep her locked up like this? How long are they going to keep her locked up like this? The doctor replies, depends on her, I guess. She's voluntary. What?
Oh.
The doctor leaves and Clear lets Kimberly in. Clear is still played by Ali Larter. Kimberly asks, Clear Rivers? And Clear responds, don't come any closer. They told me you had something to do with the crash on Route 23. Kimberly says, look, I don't know how to explain it, but I saw the pilot before it happened and I saved some people. Clear says, and now you think death is after you. Nice work. If you're real lucky, you'll wind up in here with me. Anything else? Kimberly asks, one person died in a freak accident last night. What if the others are in danger too? Clear responds, well, if you put them on the list, they're already dead. Kimberly questions, list? What list? Clear says, death's list. Oh, he's got wind and a list? Oh, jeez. The survivors of Flight 180 died in the exact order they were originally meant to die in the plane crash. That was Death's original design. He also has an original design?
Wow.
Oh, sorry, that's just another word for the list, because she then says the list. Okay, it's the same thing. Kimberly says, I was supposed to die in the crash with my friends. So you're telling me I'm next? Clear says, you said that someone else died last night. That means someone must have intervened. Kimberly says, Officer Burke pulled me away from the crash that killed my friends. Clear says, congratulations, you'll be the last to go. But don't worry, once the others are dead, it'll come back for you. It always does. Well, no, I'm sure Kimberly's not worried anymore. That's a very uplifting thought to know that.
Yeah.
Wait, no.
Don't
That's
worry.
a reason
It will
to
always
worry.
come back for you.
That's a reason to worry, silly Clear.
No.
Kimberly says, though, this doesn't make sense. You said that you die in the order you're originally meant to, but my friends died last in my premonition, not first. Clear says, wait, died last? Backwards? Are you sure? Kimberly says, in my premonition, that Nora woman and her kid died, then Evan, then me and my friends. Why is this happening to me? Clear says, that's what Alex used to ask himself. Aw, Alex.
Rip.
Yeah. Kimberly asks, so what am I supposed to do? Clear. Clear says, watch out for the signs. Kimberly says, what? Because that's a lot of this scene is just both of them going like, what are you saying? Say it again, because I don't understand it.
What do you mean by this?
Yeah. Clarify, please. Clear says...
Clarify.
Clarify. Oh. Clear says, have you ever seen anything creepy or ominous? An in-your-face irony kind of thing? Kimberly replies, the song's on the radio. Yeah, the guy in the beer truck. Everything on the road. Clear says, well, don't ignore it. Recognizing those signs usually mean the difference between life and death. Kimberly says, you gotta help me. Clear says, I don't have to do anything. And the movie ends. Because she's right. She doesn't have to do anything. But Kimberly says, but you beat it, Clear continues. Take a look around. What did I beat, Kimberly? If you were smart, you'd save yourself. Just forget about the others. Kimberly asks, how can you say that? You have a responsibility. Clear says, my friends are dead. That's how I can say that. And this is what happens to Alex when I was responsible for him. She then shows a picture of Alex on the ground, blood coming from his head. So I guess he is definitely dead.
Yeah.
Clear continues, "Get out before you hurt me or yourself." Kimberly says, "You know what? I think you're a coward. You hide out in here because you're too bitter and selfish to help any other person. In my opinion, you're already dead." Claire waves at her as she leaves. And then Claire sits on her bed, holding the picture of Alex. I wrote it down later in my notes because she says it again later, but I'll bring it up here because it's the first time it was brought up. Claire says the line, "My friends are dead." And I just want to point out that literally the plot of the last movie, one of the key points was that none of them were her friends and she got off anyway.
That was
like, sure, you could say by the end her, Alex, and maybe Carter were friends, but, like, she implies, like, that they're all her friends.
Yeah.
And they're not.
No.
There's actually literally a picture on her wall that's impossible, because it shows her, Alex, Jerry, or no, Terry, not Jerry. Terry and Carter, and they weren't friends before Terry died.
True.
So just saying, I guess they were always friends, apparently, actually.
Yeah, secretly.
Yeah. We go to Kimberly coming home, and Officer Burke is outside. Burke says, "I tried calling you last night. Your father said you were sleeping." Kimberly says, "Evan Lewis is dead." Officer Burke says, "Yeah, I've been getting calls all morning from everyone who was on the on-ramp. We're meeting up tonight at my apartment." Kimberly says, wait, so you believe all this death stuff?" Officer Burke says, "Well, at first, no, I didn't. Until last year, when I was dispatched to clean up one of the Flight 180 survivors." "What? No. What?" Kimberly says, "What? No." No, she doesn't.
I'm pretty sure she does.
Yeah, she says, "Clean up? I don't." She then stops and cowers in fear when she sees pigeons in the reflection of her door. They are not actually there. She says, "Did you see that?"
Those pigeons.
Yeah, Officer Burke replies, "See what?" Kimberly says, "Pigeons." Officer Burke says, "Pigeons?" Kimberly says, "It's a sign." Officer Burke says, "It's a sign of what?" Jeez, this scene is just back and forth, one-word dialogue practically.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah, Kimberly says, "If Clear's right about the order, then Nora and Tim are going to be attacked by pigeons." Officer Burke says, "I'm not following you." Kimberly says, "They're next on death's list. If we don't find them, they're going to die." Bum, bum, bum.
Ah!
Tune in next week for the thrilling conclusion of Final Destination 2. Oh, wait, no. We said we're not going to do that.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Now, we head back to Clear, who's looking at an article about Evan and decides to leave the hospital.
She's going to not be a coward.
Yeah. Tim sees a fish caught in the filter. Oh, sorry. I jumped a line. We head to the carpenters at the dentist office for Tim's appointment. Tim sees a fish caught on the filter. Tim then makes a crude joke before going to his appointment, leaving his mom in the lobby. I will not even somewhat repeat the joke. It is very crude and very weird for someone to joke about.
Yeah. It's pretty inexcusable.
Yeah, he goes in to see his dentist, Dr. Lees, who asks him why he wasn't there yesterday, and Tim explains it was because of the accident. Dr. Lees says he's lucky to be okay. Dr. Lees is played by Fred Henderson of It Waits, Smallville, and is a Horror Boy alum for his role in Jason Takes Manhattan. Dr. Lees says, "Your mom says you've been having some pain lately." I had to flip pages. Tim replies, "Not really." Back in the lobby, the fish tank starts leaking by the plug.
That's water.
Yeah. Back in the appointment, Dr. Lees asks, "I'm disappointed." I guess he doesn't ask. I guess he does. There's an asking after it. He says, "I'm disappointed, Tim. Does your mother know you've been smoking?" Tim replies, "Uh-huh." Dr. Lees says, "Yeah, that one's going to have to be filled." And a pigeon flies into the window, cracking it. Dr. Lee says, "Dang those pigeons." Definitely what he says. How many times am I going to have to replace those gosh dang windows?
Those monkey fighting planes.
On this Monday to Friday plane.
Yeah.
He grabs a syringe and says, "Okay, this will only sting for a moment. Open big. A little wider. Wider." Another pigeon flies at the window. Dr. Lee, startled, says, "How do you expect me to... Would you rather have laughing gas?" Tim replies, "Yeah." Dr. Lees says, "Jean, I'm going to need you in here." In the lobby, we see that the receptionist is on the phone, barely able to talk to them because of how loud it is.
Lots of construction.
Yeah. We also see that the water is making its way towards Nora. Dr. Lees starts laughing gas and explains to Tim how it works. He starts working on Tim's tooth. We head to Officer Burke and Kimberly in the car together as they head to the dentist office, where the dentist office is. Back to the dentist, working on Tim's tooth, but he has to stop because a pigeon broke the window in the lobby. Nora also got up because of the pigeon and just barely got out of the way of the water as it got electrified. The short-circuiting of the fish tank outlet causes the machine supplying the laughing gas to Tim to malfunction. So now the machine is only pumping nitrous oxide and no oxygen. Then a fish from the mobile above him falls into his mouth, blocking his airway, causing him to suffocate. In the lobby, Dr. Lees is able to get the pigeon and put it back outside. Jean comes in and removes the fish in time to save Tim. You guys thought that was going to be another. That's a fake out again. Yeah. You guys are falling for the fake outs. What losers?
Idiots. Skill issue.
Nora and Tim are leaving outside when Officer Burke and Kimberly show up yelling about the pigeons. Tim runs over to the group of pigeons on the ground trying to get them to fly away. One of the pigeons causes a construction worker to bump into the control panel of the crane he was on, causing it to drop a plane of glass onto Tim, crushing him in a death that is like a really cool, pretty dope kill. It's really fun.
Like old blood powder thing.
Yeah, like the glass breaks, the blood goes. I think all of this was practical except for they added some extra birds. But it was done through compositing. So they filmed birds on a green screen and they just added some more birds into the scene. They're not even truly digital birds. They're just adding birds to the scene that weren't technically there. But the actual kill itself was practical and it's really cool. Nora sobs because her kid just died in front of her. Officer Burke tells Kimberly, "Nora is not coming. She won't leave her son." Kimberly says, "No, but she's next. We have to..." Officer Burke interrupts. "Right now, I don't think she cares." Officer Burke takes Kimberly back to her house. Kimberly says, "This is really happening again, isn't it? I'd hope we'd get there and they'd be fine. And Clear Rivers was just full of poop. And Evan Lewis's death was just some freak accident. But we're all gonna die, aren't we? I'm so scared." Officer Burke says, I know you didn't ask for this. But I don't think you have it in you to quit either. Because I've known you for a solid 30 minutes now.
Yeah. So long.
I know your character at this point. Clear shows up. Kimberly tells her a second one just died. A 15-year-old kid. Clear says, "Hope you're ready for this." And Clear takes Officer Burke and Kimberly to the funeral home. Officer Burke asks, "How is this guy gonna help us anyway?" And Clear replies, "He seems to know a hell of a lot more about death than he ever told us." Clear is about to open the door when Officer Burke asks, "Well, should we knock first?" And Clear replies, he probably already knows we're coming.
Yeah.
They all go in and find Bloodworth about to cremate a body. Bloodworth is played by national treasure Tony Todd.
That's right.
Bloodworth says, "Hello, Clear. I've been expecting you." Officer Burke and Kimberly realize that the body is Evan Lewis's. Bloodworth says, "Come to pick my brain?" Clear responds, "Just a simple question and we'll leave you alone with your new friend." Bloodworth says to Kimberly, "Dead. yet still fresh, and he laughs. Clear says, "Look, we drove a long way to get here, so if you happen to know how to stop death, it would be really great if you told us." Bloodworth responds, "You can't cheat death. There are no escapes." Clear replies, "Bull poop! You told me that death has a distinct design. That's like a tongue twister there. But Alex and I cheated death not once, but dozens of times. The design is flawed. It can be beaten." Bloodworth says, "Such fire in you now. People are always most alive before they die, don't you think?" He sends Evan into the crematorium. He starts to leave, but Kimberly stops him, saying, "Look, please, if you know anything that could help us, what harm could it do?" Bloodworth says, "Only new life can defeat death." Officer Burke asks, "What the hell does that mean?"
That's fair.
Yeah. Bloodworth says, "Some people say there's a balance to everything. For every life, there's a death. For every death, there's a life. But the introduction of life that was not meant to be, it can invalidate the list, force death to start anew. You have to follow the signs, Kimberly." Kimberly says, "How do you know my name?" Bloodworth just smiles, and we cut away. Yeah, he's a kind of creepy guy. I think he might be the devil, because that's what the third movie credits him as. And that's why I think it.
He's no longer Bloodworth.
Yeah,
he's transcended.
Yeah, he's devil.
It's too scary.
Yeah. We head to a gas station where Kimberly and Officer Burke both talk about how they think Bloodworth is crazy. Clear almost attacks like the skater punk kid for smoking near a gas pump. Kimberly then gets a premonition of a van crashing into a lake and then has trouble breathing. Clear looks around the gas station and sees tons of ways that she could die, so she asks Kimberly, "You have to tell us, what did you see? Kimberly, look at me. You have to tell us, what did you see?" Kimberly catches her breath and explains her premonition. Did I forget to say what it was? Oh, no, I did. It was the van crashing the lake. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Burke,
Officer Burke says, "Remember the on-ramp? There was a pregnant woman in the white delivery van." Clear says, "He said only new life can defeat death. If she gives birth to a baby that would have died in the car crash, a brand new soul that was never part of death's design," Kimberly says, "it throws the whole list out of whack and we start over with a clean slate." Officer Burke says, "Seems like a reach, don't you think?" Which I think is kind of silly that he thinks that's a reach when, there's a list that is obviously killing them in order. But do you think this thing is a reach? I mean, like, maybe it is, but
that's a bit of a reach. I don't know.
Does it hurt to try at this point?
the vague concept of death that is hunting us down one by one.
Yeah, but this is a little bit of a reach, guys.
Yeah, it's a little bit. Don't you think that's a bit too far?
Yeah, I think you guys are crazy. Clear says, "What else could it mean?" And Kimberly says, "We have to find the pregnant lady's number. Not number. We have to find the pregnant lady's mother, because she'll give us her phone number, and we can find her." Oh, wait, no, she doesn't say all that. Officer Burke says, "I don't have it. She never came to the station." Kimberly says, "We have to find her. Warn her about the lake, so she can stay alive long enough to have the baby." Officer Burke says, "That'll be an easy conversation." Clear says, "How are we going to find her? There could be thousands of white vans in the state." And Officer Burke says, "Hey, I'm a cop, remember?" And then he shot an innocent person.
I can abuse my power to do things I
sorry.
couldn't be able
No,
to
actually,
do.
he doesn't do that. He actually just falsifies a report on a minority.
Yeah.
Ooh!
Yeah.
I made a joke about him shooting someone who was innocent, but instead he just falsifies a report of a stolen vehicle on a minority.
Yeah.
Ooh, actually, he does sound like a cop. He wanted us to remember.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, because they head to the station and watch his dash cam footage, and they can see the license plate of the van. So Officer Burke then puts out an APB and finds out the information on who the van is registered to. Yeah, just, falsifying a little report real quick.
Just real quick. Yeah.
Yeah. We head to Officer Burke's apartment building. for the survivor meeting. Rory does some coke before getting on the elevator and almost gets his foot stuck in the door. The other passenger says that he spoke to management about the bumpers not working. I wonder if that could mean anything.
Probably won't be relevant.
Yeah, probably not.
Nah.
Then Rory asks him if there's dog poop on his shoe. He also offers to wipe something off the man's face repeatedly. The man does not let him. The man is in the elevator is played by Darcy Laurie of Hollow Man 2.
Oh.
In the apartment, Nora asks... she asks anyone if they have a Valium. Kat gives her one. There's actually a quick little funny joke where Kat's about to tell her to only take one, or to only take half of it, and Nora's already taken it, the whole pill. It's a cute little drug moment, you know?
As you do.
Yeah. Wait, what? Uh-oh. Nora says, no. If what you're saying is true, that means I'm next. Eugene says, this is crazy, people. Come on. First death is stalking us, and now premonitions? Claire says, you're not next, Nora. Nobody has to be next. That's the point. We need to help each other in order to get through this. Kat says, oh, this can't be happening. See, because my career is at a peak, and I finally met a quality guy. I just bought a house. Rory says, maybe if you shut up, you'll live. And Kat retorts, yeah, like I'm going to take advice from you. And, in like a romantic comedy, these two would end up falling in love. Spoiler, they don't.
Yeah, no, they do
I won't
not.
tell you anything else. Just say they won't fall in love. Kimberly says... Sorry, something in my eye. Okay, look. If you know what to look for, you have a fighting chance. If I call and say, I don't know, Subway, go to a Quiznos. Wait, sorry, no. She says, get to a high-rise. Fast. Yeah. A place where no subway could ever possibly go. Get it? Claire says, okay, you guys, listen. Just because Kimberly has these visions doesn't mean you're not all capable of seeing signs to some extent. Eugene says, okay. Look, I gotta call bull poop. I mean, I've sat here and listened to your theories and all your stories, and I think it's just all bull poop. Oh, you just said the same thing like twice, basically, dude.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm gonna say this isn't true. Because I heard you, and I don't think it's true. Like, it sounds like he's going to have a reason, but he doesn't. He's just like, because I don't think it's true. I'm going to double down.
Why I don't think it's true? Because I don't think it is.
That's basically what he says here.
So how about that?
Yeah, but I just don't think it's true. I think it's poppycock. Claire says, call it what you want. It'll keep your butt alive. Eugene says, darling, my butt is alive. Huh? Has been all day. There is nobody after us but you, trying to make us all crazy. He goes to pick up his coat, but a pool ball falls out of his pocket and rolls over to a mousetrap, which causes it to go flying in the air, hitting the pulley system that hangs a kayak in the air, so the kayak comes swinging down, almost hitting everyone but misses. Claire says, I should have seen that coming. And Eugene says, if death is out to get you, why don't you get the hell away from us? And Kimberly says, she's the only one that's dealt with this before. I feel like this is the point where she also should have said, and also you guys are also, and we also have death coming after us, but, fair enough. I guess just bring up how she's been here before.
Yeah.
Claire says, we need to look out for each other from now on. Sleep in shifts. We need to safe-proof this death trap. We get a quick cut to Isabella being pulled over, for a crime she didn't commit.
Yeah, classic.
America!
Frick, yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. Kat says, back to the apartment. Kat says, screw this, I'm going for a smoke. Officer Burke says, no, it's not safe out there. And Kat says, so? Norma's got to bite it before me anyhow, huh? And when he doesn't laugh, she says, oh, you people have no sense of humor. And
Just let her joke about somebody else's demise.
it was kind of a funny joke. Nora gets up and Kimberly asks her, Nora, are you okay? Nora replies, 4 years ago, my husband died. Now, Tim, there's nothing for me. Kimberly says, look, don't say that, okay? Nora says, if it's my time to go and be in heaven with my family, I can accept that. Kimberly says, you gotta trust me, okay? We can fight this. If we just stick together long enough for her to have her baby. Nora interrupts. If you'll excuse me, I have a funeral to plan. And Nora leaves. Eugene starts to put on his jacket, and Kimberly says, what do you think you're doing? Eugene says, I'm finished. I'm out. Which I will say is a weird, like, he, you know, was the guy who's like, oh, I'm against this. But then he, like, starts helping to save Proof, and then goes, actually, no, I am out. And it's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Because I kind of cut over where he starts helping, but after that, like, that thing where it's like, after, like, the kayak, he kind of gets to the point where he starts being willing to help, but then now he's like, nah, I'm done with this. This is bull poop. Because I think so.
Yeah, there are absolutely lines of dialogue where it is just, I feel this way now because
the script told me to feel this way.
Yeah. And for no other reason.
Yeah. Kimberly says, don't leave, Eugene. Eugene says, look, I control my life, all right? Not some crazy list that death has put together. Claire says, I'll carve that into your tombstone. Eugene says, whatever. You may scare these people. I'm not buying that poop. Rory says, be careful, man. That's it. It's just a really nice thing for Rory to say. Like, Rory's just a nice guy. Except for that one guy on the elevator.
Yeah.
It's that really weird scene that doesn't fit anything else about him. Because, like, every other part we see about him, he's kind of a nice guy. He treats a lot of people really well. But then he just, like, shoved a poop-covered shoe in some guy's face. So it's, like, a little weird.
Mm. Yeah.
But, you know, it is what it is, I guess.
Maybe he's just neurodivergent.
I still feel like most even neurodivergent people know how to shove poop shoes in people's faces.
Yeah, it is pretty common sense.
Yeah. Officer Burke says, hey, even if you don't believe, give this to Nora. And he hands him one of the phones. Eugene takes it and leaves. Rory goes to hang a rope up in the closet. It's full of dangerous outdoor equipment. It all starts to fall on him, but doesn't actually hit him. We head to the elevator where Eugene and Nora get on. There's already another passenger who, for some reason, has a basket full of prosthetic arms?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Arm Guy is played by John R. Taylor of Watchmen. Back to Rory, who sees a shadow that looks like a man with hooks. So he says, a man with hooks? Could it be a man with hooks? Could this be a sign? And then Claire's like, oh my gosh, it is. The dialogue's so rough in this scene.
Yeah.
I didn't actually write it down, but I just remember how bad it was.
No, it is pretty awful to have to listen to.
Yeah. So they all rush to make calls, and Claire runs out and goes downstairs to meet the elevator at the bottom. Back in the elevator, the old man gets a sniff of Nora's hair for some reason.
Yeah, Mr. Arm Man.
Yeah. Eugene catches him and makes him stop. And Nora gets a call and drops the phone. And when she picks it up and answers it, it's Ghostface!
It's not.
What?
It's not Ghost.
Oh, no, it's Officer Burke, who tells her a man with hooks is going to kill her. She goes to stand up, realizing the old man is going to kill her. But her hair gets caught on one of the hooked prosthetic arms. She tries to leave the elevator while still hooked, but then the elevator door slams closed, because as we talked about earlier, it doesn't work properly. And starts to go back upstairs. Clear and Kat try to help her, but can't, and she's decapitated by the elevator. Her head in the elevator and her body on the ground outside by Clear and Kat. It's a fun little kill. I mean, nothing like too crazy, but you know, done well enough.
A classic, elevator decapitation.
Classic elevator decapitation.
We've seen it 1,000 times.
Have
But
we? I don't know if I have. I've probably seen it a few times. I don't know about
uh-huh.
1,000. Back upstairs, Officer Burke gets word that Isabella has been found and is being held. You know, once again, on charges she did nothing wrong with.
Uh-huh.
The minority was arrested by a white cop. Just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying. It's a little weird optics when we look back at this movie in 2020.
It's a little bit on the nose, isn't it?
Yeah. Ooh. But, you know, the difference is, you know, the thing that makes it okay is this cop is played as a good guy who's actually the hero for trying to do this.
Yeah.
Huh.
Hmm.
In barges Eugene, who screams about how he's in control of his life. He takes Officer Burke's gun and starts pointing at everyone. Rory tells him to tell him what happened. Officer Burke says, "All right, give me the gun, Eugene. Give me the gun." Eugene says no, puts the gun to his head, and said he's going to go out on his terms. And he pulls the trigger, but the gun doesn't fire. Kimberly says, "You don't keep it loaded?" Officer Burke opens the gun to show it was full of bullets.
Fully loaded.
Yeah, it had, it's a revolver and it had six bullets. Oh.
Yeah.
And Rory says, "Maybe they're all duds." Officer Burke replies, "6 in a row? Never. That's impossible." Clear says, "It wasn't his turn to die." And we pan over to her and Kat covered in blood. Kat says, "Can we find the pregnant woman now? Please?" Yeah. We cut to the next day when the survivors very smartly, after realizing that they can't die and they're unbeatable until it's their time, decide to lock Kat up in a safe place, and they all live the rest of their lives happily.
Yeah.
No, actually, they don't do that.
No, they don't.
They actually all get in a car with her.
Yeah, they do that and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody said they were smart survivors.
I will say, just because, I did, slightly rearrange that joke, but it was a joke that I stole from CZ's World, who was a content creator on YouTube. Because he pointed out that flaw, and I was like, oh, yeah, no, that is a big flaw.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. But yeah, credit to him. He does some good videos. And from what I know, isn't a bad person. So, if he ends up being one, I do not condone that. Gotta cover my bases, because...
Mm-hmm.
Lost my place. They're all in the car. All the survivors are all driving to Isabella. Officer Burke tells everyone, "Let's not panic. Isabella's safe." Kimberly asks, "How do you know?" Officer Burke replies, "You said she was going to drive into a lake. How can she if she's in protective custody?"
Well,
Yeah, fair enough. So we, Hannah had Isabella in a jail cell, trying to convince Deputy Steve that she could not have committed Grand Theft Auto in the state she's in right now. Deputy Steve is played by Aaron Douglas of, can you guess it? X-Men 2, Smallville, and then actually this next one's actually kind of cool and not that. And Dirk Gently's holistic detective agency, alongside Horror Boy alums Elijah Wood, Zach Santiago, Elijah Wood of The Faculty, Zach Santiago of The Cult of Chucky, and also in that show, National Treasure Fiona Dorff.
woo.
Yeah. Isabella's water breaks, and with some yelling, she convinces Deputy Steve to drive her to the hospital. But he doesn't have the cop car, so they have to take her van. Dun dun dun.
A van.
We head back to the survivor's car, where Eugene says, "Y'all want to hear something crazy? It's not the first time I cheated death. Kid came to school with a knife, killed his teacher. Teacher would have been me, but I was transferred to another school 2 days before." Rory says, "That's weird, man." Officer Burke says, "You want weird? Last year, my partner and I were heading out when a call came in about a train wreck. Frank decided to let me handle it alone. He died that night in a shootout. If that call had come in just 10 seconds later, I'd be dead too." Kat says, "I got one too." Okay, last May, I'm supposed to go and stay at this cheesy little bed and breakfast in Pennsylvania. Anyhow, there's this major gas leak that no one knows about, and all the guests suffocated during the night. Papers. I got caught.
Oh.
And Eugene says, so what happened? Kat says, I don't know, I never made it. The bus I was on splattered some girl all over the road. What? Claire asks, was that in Mount Abraham? Kat says, yes, how did you know? Claire says, that bus you were on killed Terry Chaney. She was supposed to die on Flight 180. Roy says, hey, do you guys remember that theater in Paris that collapsed last year and killed everybody inside? Well, I had tickets to go. One night, I'm in Paris and I'm tripping on acid and sipping lattes and such. And then all of a sudden, this dude out of nowhere just gets whacked by this falling sign. Claire says, Carter. Eugene says, wait. The teacher at our place, her name was Val Luton. She was from Mount Abraham. She died in an explosion. Officer Burke says, poop! That call about the train wreck that saved my life? That was the night I scraped up Billy Hitchcock. Rory says, wait a minute, wait. Who are these people? Kimberly says, the people who got off of Flight 180. Claire says, they were my friends. Which this is where in my notes I talked about how they weren't. But we already mentioned that, so we'll move on.
Still not friends.
Yeah. So Claire continues. Kimberly tells what happened. Kimberly says, about a year ago, my mom and I were at the mall. I was supposed to meet her outside, but I was caught up watching this news report about some kid that committed a word that I still can't say on YouTube. I kept thinking, how could you strangle yourself in a bathtub? That's stupid. I don't know, it felt wrong, and yet I heard gunshots, and I ran outside. Some kids were trying to steal my mom's car. She tried to fight them off. She was a fighter, and they killed her. After the funeral, I kept thinking that it should have been me. I guess everyone must think that. But I guess I was right. Claire comfortingly holds Kimberly's wrist. We cut back to Deputy Steve, taking Isabella to the hospital real quick. Back to the survivors, where Claire says, when we got off Flight 180, it didn't just change our lives, it affected everyone and everything we've come in contact with since. Eugene says, I'm not sure I'm understanding you, because that's what the writers do here when we need to pad out a scene. We have you say the same thing again, because someone says, wait, what?
Yeah.
So Claire continues, being alive after we were supposed to die, it caused an outward ripple. A rift in death's design. Eugene says, so if you had never gotten off the plane, we wouldn't be alive in the first place. And Claire says, yes, that's why death is working backwards. It's tying up the loose ends, sealing off the rift once and for all. Which here's the thing, I think that's kind of a cool thing how they're all connected to it, but the it working backwards thing makes no sense for even she's like, yes, that's why it's working. Like, really? What? Explain it to me, because no.
Yeah.
Can I be someone in the car that goes, wait, what are you talking about? Why is it working backwards? So she actually explains why it's going backwards. But whatever. Here's the thing. I actually think that is a kind of a clever little spin on the story to up the ante for 2 is that how they all should have died because of the 180 people. I get it. That's cool. That's fun. I like that. For the ones we got to hear about. I want to know the other people's. How did Tim and Nora should have died? That kind of stuff. I want to know all those ones.
Yeah.
But we don't, because they don't. The writers definitely did not think about that. Because they probably wrote all those characters' deaths in first, and then got to this scene where they're like, hey, I got an idea. And they're like, whoa, what? And then the guy explained his idea.
Yeah.
And they put that in the script, exactly how he said it. Because they were trying to figure out why death worked backwards, and he literally went, yes, that's why death is working backwards.
Yeah, but only he. Yeah, that's why.
Yeah, that's why! Oh my gosh, we just came up with it, guys! Then their tire blows out, causing them to swerve into oncoming traffic, which happens to be Isabella's van. Isabella's van goes swerving off the side of the road, while the survivors' SUV swerved onto a farm, crashing through hay bales, then crashing through a fence, and then it leaves a log through the side of the car before finally stopping when they crash into some PVC pipes. One of which almost hits Kat's head. The log has trapped Kat's legs, and Eugene is having trouble breathing. Deputy Steve wants to help, but Isabella says they need to get her to the hospital, so he calls on the accident that was at the 180-mile marker.
Aww.
I actually thought that was kind of... the reason I wrote it down was like, oh, that's actually kind of a cool way to tie in the number 180, because they like to do that, and that was kind of fun there. I actually like that one.
That's fair.
Back to the survivors, who take Eugene out of the car, and we see that one of the PVC pipes pierced through his back and out of his chest. Kimberly says, I think he has a collapsed lung. Clear goes to tell the farm workers to call an ambulance. Kat has a kid, who we later find out his name is Brian, come over to help try and get her out of the car, but when he tries to remove the log, she screams in pain and tells him to stop. He yells for his dad. Then we cut to a little bit later where the ambulance takes Eugene to the hospital, but won't let Clear come with him. You know, because she has no actual connection to him and she's kind of rambling like a crazy person.
Yeah, I love that.
Brian gets pulled out of the way of a news van by Rory right before it hits him. The boy is played by Brian, that is. I at first wrote the boy because I didn't know who he was yet. Is played by Noel Fisher, who is Michelangelo in the Michael Bay Ninja Turtles movies.
Huh.
And was in Valentine alongside Horror Bois alums Marley Shelton of Scream 4 and 5 and Katherine Heigl of Bride of Chucky. The news van ends up piercing its gas tank on a rock when it backs up. The gas pours into a busted pipe that was being replaced and heads over towards Kat's SUV. Presumably. We don't actually see it go over there yet. It just looks like it's going that direction, I would assume. Yeah. Rory asks Kimberly, when I die, is it going to hurt? Kimberly responds, I don't know. Rory continues, you're going to die after me, right? Kimberly says, yeah, I guess so. Rory gives her his keys and wallet and says, and if I die, would you throw out all my drugs and my paraphernalia and my music videos?
Yeah, I guess that would be an appropriate word for that.
Just, anything that's going to break my mom's heart, please? Kimberly nods. And, a genuinely, heartwarming scene. Once again, I really like the character of Rory in every scene but the one where he tries to make a guy smell poop off his shoe.
Yeah, there's that scene.
It kind of ruins his whole character. He's not, the greatest character ever, but he's a decent character with some, heartwarming moments. This scene where he just kind of says, be careful, man, to Eugene earlier for really no reason. He barely knew the guy at that point, but he's like, hey, be careful.
Yeah.
But then he also was like, hey, smell this poop on my shoe and let me clean your face with my spit. It's like, oh, okay, you're a weirdo.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Officer Burke calls into the sheriff's office and finds out that Isabella left to go to the hospital. Clear goes over to tell Kat. Kat says, just find Isabella and get this thing over with, okay? Kat is smoking at this point. Just, she's been doing that throughout the movie. This is the first time that, I guess we mentioned it when she said she went for a smoke, but she's kind of seen smoking in a few scenes. The jaws of life cause Kat's airbag to go off, sending her head through the PVC pipe in a really fun little kill there. She also drops her cigarette at this point, and Death's wind blows it into the pipe with the gas in it. leading a fire back to the news van that explodes, setting a barbed wire fence through the air, where it cuts Rory into multiple pieces in a fun, mostly practical kill. Like, it's done in a way where, like, there are, like, practical elements. There's a couple digital elements, but, like, it's actually, there are 3 pieces that they put together with green screen that fell down. Like, it's kind of cool. How, and, you know, typically when you have, like, a 3-piece of a person kill, it's fully digital. And this one is not, and that's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It really does not look terrible for what it is.
Yeah. It's because this movie has some really decent kills, which is, you know, what you really want in a Final Destination film. That's the thing. Honestly, if they couldn't get that right, then you're going to fail. But if you could do that, I might be willing to look past some of the other flaws that this movie definitely has.
Many glaring flaws that Final Destination tends to have.
Yeah. Kimberly. Oh, also, I'll mention here, technically right before that happens, Officer Burke is trying to run over to Rory, and a tree falls down that makes him fall down as well, but doesn't hit him right before, because he can't die from the barbed wire, so the tree had to stop him in his tracks, because, you know, you can't die if it's not your time, so he had to get stopped so Rory could die. So Kimberly, Clear, and Officer Burke take one of the farmer's trucks and head to the hospital. Kimberly is driving and has trouble breathing and sees a name tag on a doctor named Kalarjian, who seems to be choking someone. What? Why would a doctor be choking someone? Especially when death has never used a human vessel before.
It's true.
Dr. Kalarjian is played by Enid Ray Adams of Like Mike 2, Street Ball.
Oh, Street Ball.
Officer Burke says, "What do you see? What are we looking for?" Kimberly says, "No, it's not here. This one was different. It was like the van crashing into the lake." So it wasn't different. It was like one of the other ones you've already had.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, no. You haven't had one that isn't you involved.
Sure.
This one's different. It was like the van crashing in the lake. I was in the hospital. They were screaming, and a nurse was trying to choke me. I couldn't see her, but I could see her name tag. It was right in my face. Kalarjian. I think a nurse named Kalarjian is going to try and kill Isabella. It's a little bit of a leap there, but all right.
Yeah, just a lot.
We cut to Isabella in labor, where either the obstetrician or the delivery nurse tells Isabella to start pushing because the umbilical cord is wrapped around the baby's neck. I say this because neither of these people have pictures, but both of them would be in this room, so I'll tell you about both of them right now. The obstetrician is named Claudine Rodney, and the delivery nurse is played by Sarah J. Kamal. Don't know which one of them was the one in this scene. I think it's the obstetrician, and the delivery nurse would just be someone else we see in the scene, like in the background. Because this person is seen later doing a little bit more of like the actual like delivering of the baby. But I'm not 100% sure because they don't ever get like a name, so... we head to Eugene's room where he watches the news and finds out about Kat's death. When death's wind blows the door closed, closes the vent, and makes the oxygen tank of his respirator go haywire. That's it. We cut away from that. That's it. I'm just going to say that little quick. Death's wind. He's here. Not as much as the last movie, but he shows up occasionally. Occasionally, Death uses his wind. Clear Kimber... Sorry?
Said he's gonna get you.
Sometimes. Sometimes he just does it other ways. Sometimes he uses, nurses to choke you.
Yeah.
At least that's what Kimberly thinks. Clear, Kimberly, and Officer Burke arrive at the hospital. They run in and ask what room Isabella's in. We cut back to Isabella, where the medical professional calls to get Dr. Kalarjian in there to do a C-section. I think it's a hero we say why. I didn't write it down. I thought I did. Yeah, she calls for the C-section because the umbilical cord is wrapped around the baby's neck.
I think we did say that. Right?
Did I say that already?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, I didn't. I skipped over that line early, didn't I? I told her to start push, but I say maybe I did. I don't know.
You did mention the umbilical cord being wrapped around the neck.
Did I? Okay, good. So the umbilical cord is wrapped around the baby's neck. So they're
Oh,
calling
okay.
for a C-section because the umbilical cord is wrapped around the neck.
Oh.
Did you
Because
know
the umbilical
that?
cord is wrapped around the neck, they have to call for a C-section?
Yeah, yeah. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Do you remember who
That's what I
said that? Well, it was
was
either the
Dr.
obstetrician
Clark.
or it was the delivery nurse. We don't know which.
Okay. I'm glad we got to the bottom of that.
Yeah, Deputy Steve tries to leave, but Isabella says, "Don't you dare leave me." So he stays. It was a cute little. I kind of like their interactions. They're not like, it's not like good acting, but it's cute. His reaction to like some of the things she says is, I enjoy it.
Right.
The gang splits up with Kimberly and Officer Burke heading to Isabella, while Clear goes to find Eugene. Speaking of Eugene, we go back to him now. And his respirator is moving on its own and is getting very close to unplugging. Kimberly and Officer Burke try to catch Dr. Kalarjian, but she gets in an elevator before they can, so they have to take the stairs. Back to Eugene, who gets unplugged. Dun, dun, dun. We come back to the living room, where it's getting dire, and they're wondering where Dr. Kalarjian is. Well, Kimberly and Officer
He's
Burke
walking.
catch her in the hall, and Officer Burke stops her, saying, "Police business." Quick cut to Eugene, who is really struggling now. Then we cut back over to this, where Kimberly bursts into the living room as Isabella gives birth. Yay!
Yahoo!
And we cut back to Eugene, whose respirator goes on emergency battery mode. They did it, guys! They saved the day! So I'm just give that little post, saving the day scenes here now, where Kimberly and Officer Burke celebrate, and Kimberly says to Isabella, "Thank you, congratulations," and Isabella responds, "Who the hell are they?" Which is, funny because she hasn't actually met them really. She has not actually been in this movie with the rest of them.
Yeah.
She has been the central MacGuffin, but has not dealt with them at all.
Sure.
Clear meets up with Kimberly and Officer Burke in the hall. She tells them that she can't find Eugene, and they tell her that she doesn't have to worry because Isabella had her baby. And the movie ends. Oh wait, no,
Yippee.
sorry. Here, Kimberly, gets another flash of a premonition where she sees that Isabella never died in the crash, so this doesn't count to save them?
No.
The whole conceit of this movie was a fake out?
Yeah. Oh, there's a dog underneath my desk.
Oh.
Huh. Lay down. Alright, so anyways.
Yeah, sorry. She thinks back to the lake premonition to try to figure out what that meant then. She tells them that she sees someone with bloody hands. Clear goes to find Eugene, and Kimberly says to Officer Burke, "Only new life defeats death. What is that supposed to mean?" Officer Burke says, "You saw an ECG machine, and what else? Bloody hands? What else did you see, Kimberly?" Which also I want to say that at this point we had not heard about her mentioning the ECG machine, but she had not mentioned that yet. But he does somehow know that because the script told him he was supposed to know that.
Mm-hmm.
Clear opens up Eugene's door, and with the vents closed and his oxygen tank going haywire this whole time, there's so much oxygen in the room that the spark from the cord, causes an explosion that kills Eugene and Clear.
Simultaneously.
Yeah. Killed off Clear. Brought her back just to kill her.
Uh-huh.
They did wait longer than most horror sequels do when they bring back characters, so I will give them that.
This is true.
They did wait till almost the end of the movie, not like the first two scenes. Like when the Dream Warriors came back and were all killed.
Yeah.
Kimberly and Officer Burke fall to the ground from the explosion. They see the charred corpse of Clear. Kimberly notices her hands are bloody. She says, It's me. The premonitions are about me." Officer Burke says, "What?" So then she doesn't. Someone else jumps in here because Dr. Kalarjian says, "Crash cart. Let's go. Move it." Kimberly continues, "Dr. Kalarjian, the ECG machine. She looks at the door and sees a lake and an ambulance drive up. She says, "The lake! The white van!" Officer Burke says, "What are you talking about?" Because that's all the scriptwriters know to say is just keep having people say, "What?"
Huh?
I really didn't realize that flaw in this movie until I was reading it in the notes. I'll give him credit. When you're watching, you don't quite realize how much it's happening, but when you're rereading the dialogue back, you realize that every scene just goes, "So this happened. Wait, what?" Oh, sorry. I'll actually explain it in a good way now.
Yeah.
So yeah, Burke says, "What are you talking about?" She then sees an article on the bulletin board that says, "New life for drowning victim." She says, "New life." Officer Burke says, "What is it?" She continues, "I know what I have to do to save us. I have to die." Officer Burke says, "What?" No, actually he doesn't. He says, No, that's crazy. You can't give up now. We have to fight this thing." And then she kisses him, which is kind of weird because there was like no romantic tension. And also, I'd always interpreted, that the implication was that she was in high school. I will say that there was a chance she could have been like a college student going on a trip to Daytona, but it still feels a little bit like there's at least definitely an age difference there that's a little awkward. And also, there was definitely no romantic tension between them whatsoever in this movie until this scene.
Not at all.
She says, "Get Kalarjian." She runs outside, steals the ambulance, and drives it into the lake. Officer Burke isn't able to follow her immediately because the door is broken. He gets it open and jumps into the lake after her. The ambulance sinks to the bottom. He dives down to get her. She goes unconscious before he's able to free her. We see her life flash before her eyes, implying that she dies. We cut to Dr. Kalarjian, bringing her back to life.
Yippee!
Yay! Officer Burke says, "Welcome back. They lost you for a minute there. Hey, we did it. Thanks to you, we cheated death." And she goes, "What?" No, she doesn't. Happy music plays and the sun shines down on them.
Oh, yes, the sunshine.
Sunshine. We head to Kimberly and Officer Burke having a barbecue with her father, the boy Rory saved, whose name is Brian, and his parents. His father, Mr. Gibbons, is played by the late Alf Humphreys of the OG My Bloody Valentine, First Blood, and X-Men 2. Because everyone in this movie is an X-Men 2.
Yeah, everyone ever has been an X-Men 2.
Apparently that movie was shot in Canada, like this one. Miss Gibbons is played by Chilton Crane of It Waits, The Unspoken, and Air Bud World Pup.
Let's go, Air Bud.
Officer Burke almost gets poked by a shish kebab skewer. Kimberly's dad tells him to be careful, but Officer Burke says he's had closer calls. And as he's about to walk off to the barbecue, Brian Gibbons says, "Yeah, me too. Dad, you should tell him about the news van thing." Mr. Gibbons explains, "Brian was almost hit by that news van that day in the field. And your friend Rory, he pulled him back at the last second. Saved his life." Then Mrs. Burton's like, or Mrs. not Burton, Gibson. Mrs. Gibson is like, or Gibbons, not Gibson, sorry. Mrs. Gibbons is like, "Well, I didn't know that. Wow, he's lucky." And then Kimberly and Officer Burke share worried looks. Then the grill explodes, obliterating Brian, sending his arm flying to fall in front of his mother. And we go to credits.
Yeah.
It's a fun little last kill. It's also like all practical. So that's cool.
True.
You know, I like practical kills. It was fun. It was stupid. This movie's stupid.
Yeah.
This isn't a good... I'm not going to sit here and say this movie's good, but I had fun watching it. It's a fun time. It's bad. It's got a lot of issues, as we talked about during this. Like, especially, like, most of the characters are definitely a big step down from the last movie. Not that the other characters in the last movie were great, but they were definitely better than this movie's.
Yeah.
What else? The script is pretty rough, especially when you're rethinking about it analytically, looking back after you wrote it down. Oh boy, every other scene is literally just like, hey, so this happened. So this is my thought.
Huh?
What? Oh, sorry. Let me explain it actually fully. Wait, what? Oh, sorry. Here's that last detail you needed.
Oh, okay.
That's every scene.
Yeah.
But the one thing this movie definitely does do that's really cool is the kills. Especially, huge credit to, what is it, Digital Dimensions and Pixel Magic, because they were 2003 companies that made some really good CGI effects that like worked in with the practical effects, and like that's not easy. Movies with, I'm sure, probably more money than this. I don't know how much money this movie had, but there's definitely movies from bigger franchises that couldn't pull that off.
It's true.
So, huge credit on that. I think most of the kills are fun. I don't really think there was a bad kill in the movie, which was nice. Like, I can't think of one that I disliked. I really can't. I think I liked all the kills. There might be different levels of my liking of them, but like, I enjoyed them all.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a fun time. It's not good. It's bad. It's a bad movie, but it's a fun bad movie, and that's really the most I want. I want some cool kills, and that's about it. That's it for me. I watched a little documentary about this movie where they were talking about like the history of, splatter movies and how they were like just made to get kids in theater. Like, and this is a splatter movie. This is the next generation of the, Friday the 13th films where it's like gore effects, kids die, come see movie, and I'm like, all right, I'll do it.
Caveman brain says yes.
I'm like, all right, cool kill, I'm in.
Yeah.
That's it. That's my thoughts.
I'd say I have pretty much relatively the same sentiments about this movie. Is it a good movie? No, definitely not. But did I enjoy watching it? Yeah, definitely. I think this whole series is pretty goofy, and for the most part, it knows it's pretty goofy.
That's fair.
And I think at points, how much it tries to take itself seriously just adds to how goofy it is, which is always fun. And this movie is no exception. Now, I will say that this movie is, I feel like, as a Final Destination movie, pretty forgettable. And the testament that I have to that was when I initially turned on the movie to watch it, despite having watched it before, had no recollection of any part of the beginning of the movie. Didn't remember any of Kimberly's friends. I was like, who are these people? Is this a Final Destination movie I haven't seen before? Nope. Just, not most of what's in the movie.
Yeah, it's fair. That's the same with the last one and probably all of them. There's always going to be extra characters you meet so you don't know who survives.
Yeah.
Like there was the girls. There was his brother in the last movie. There's a couple.
The parts that stick with you throughout this franchise are definitely mostly just the kills.
Yeah, that's the only reason you watch these movies.
I was like, yeah, my Final Destination movie. That's it's the one with the log pile up. I don't remember which one it is. It turns out it's the second one, guys. It's the second one. The one I can't remember, that's my favorite Final Destination movie, I guess.
I think so far of the two I've seen, because I actually haven't seen the ones after this yet. My favorite is definitely the first. The first one, actually was almost well written. It had its flaws, but it was almost a good movie. This is not even close to being a good movie.
Yeah.
It's fun, but it's not good at all. There were moments that last movie where I was like, oh, this is actually a good movie. This is not.
Yeah.
And from my understanding, it only goes down
does
from
get
here.
worse. Yeah.
I think I've heard 5 is good again for a little bit at least.
Ooh,
I don't know. And then there's supposed to be a 6th one that's I've been hearing about for a couple years now. Pretty much since we started this, I heard oh, this is new 6th one's coming out. Hasn't, I think, even been made yet. But there might be a 6th one coming someday. Cool. I mean, I'll see it.
Yeah.
My name is Austin. Not yet. No. If you like this podcast, 5-star reviews on all of your podcast apps. Download more than one. And please give us a 5-star review on all of them. And then when you're done there, head on over to youtube.com/@horrorboys, and I would like you to like, subscribe, and comment on every video we've ever uploaded.
Huh.
Yeah, and then if you want to support us directly, which you should, because we're cool, head on over to patreon.com/horrorboys, where you can get the podcast early, as well as other rewards that currently aren't really there, but we will make them if you get there. There's no back catalog, because why would we make stuff when there's literally no one there yet? But we will. We'll do it. I don't know how, but we'll figure the time. We'll find it out.
Gosh darn it, we'll do it.
Yeah, we'll do it. We will make you whatever the content I said we're making you is on there. I don't even remember anymore. I think one of them's like a horror video game let's play or something. I don't know.
Sounds par for the course.
Yeah. I think I might have said we'd play Resident Evil.
Yeah.
I might have said that. Might have not. I don't know. Head on over to patreon.com/horrorboys to find out what I said. But yeah. We'll see you next week for Final Destination 3.
Yeah.
I'm Austin. That's Chris. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.